Hello, it's Andrew Eborn here again with the fabulous Mike Reed. How you doing, Mike?
I'm very good. I'm very good.
Last time we were speaking, we were touching on the people that you know and the different things that you've got involved with. And one of the things we were talking about was UKIP, the UK Independence Party, which was set up all that time ago. People forget. It was actually set up in September 1993, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's taken various shapes. Robert Kilroy Silk was involved then. And it's not now, of course, what it is. Back in the day, it was almost a pressure group to get Brexit done and things like that. And not only that, the various other things. They always said it was a one-trick party. And, I've never been a political person or a politician. If ever I've stood on stage, which I have done a lot, I would just say, look, I'm not a politician. I'm one of 66 million people with a view. This is what I think. And if people disagree with what you think, that's fine. I've always gone along the lines of, I defend your right to have your opinion. It might differ to mine, but I would fight to defend your right to have it. That's why I don't understand people now more than ever hatcheting each other for having a different opinion to theirs. That's like saying, to a Manchester City fan, why don't you support Manchester United? It just doesn't leave people to have their opinion. That's fine, but people get now pretty nasty about it, whether it's British politics or American politics, and you think, actually, why don't you get on and do something useful? We can all have an opinion, but if you spend all day banging on about it, it becomes problematic. I think it devours you probably in the end.
Yeah, and we do. I mean, it is extraordinary. You're absolutely right. We live in the most divisive time forever, don't we? I mean, in terms of, and social media, I think it's made it far worse. Some people put an opinion out, and we always say we would fight to the death to allow people to have an opinion. And yet we don't really, do we? If somebody doesn't agree on social media, the whole world collapses and erupts, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you have freedom of speech, but everyone else has the freedom of speech to disagree with your freedom of speech and be pretty Anglo-Saxon about it sometimes as well. I think that's one of the problems. So a lot of people, we're now creating a very bland country because a lot of people think, you know what, it's easier to say nothing. I can have an opinion, but if I do, I'm going to light the blue touch paper and it's going to go whoosh because someone's going to come back at you. So a lot of people think, you know what, I'm not going to have an opinion, because it might affect my career. I'm going to carry on with what I'm doing. And yeah, I can understand that in a way. He'd be a politician, poison chalice, really, at a time now when you need very, very, very strong leaders. And in being a strong leader in any era, you're going to put some people's backs up because they're not going to like it. But you have to be a strong leader, and you have to be relatively thick-skinned, I think, to be a politician. Because if you're not, I mean, God, you'd have sleepless nights, wouldn't you? If you, as a politician, if you Google your name and put a rude word beside it, you guarantee something's going to come up, that's for sure.
No, that is the problem, isn't it? You say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. I think we have to encourage people to have views. We have to have people in thinking, question everything. Because if you don't question everything, then you're going to just be confirming your own sort of prejudices and things like that, aren't you?
You are, and of course, everybody on social media is basically publishing their own mini newspaper without being remotely legally trained in anything. They put things out there, and you think, what? Now, a newspaper wouldn't do that. If a reporter went to an editor and said, here's my copy, and they go, I'm really sorry, we're going to have to run this past our legal boys first. But on social media, people don't feel they have to. They can do it from their home. They can have, 24 followers, 8 followers, 2,000 followers, and say the most vile things about, our prime minister, our opposition, Trump, Biden, whatever it is, whatever they want to say, they feel they can be absolutely vile, and it doesn't matter. It's social media. I can get away with it, but in fact, they're publishing a libel.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, and various actions are taking place as a result of it. I mean, as far as Whitaker, who said that basically with the news, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed, but if you read the newspaper, you're misinformed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's
Absolutely.
you've got to question everything. And what we encourage in this household is to get your news from different sources. So you might start with the BBC, look at ITV, but then go over to Fox and even RT and so on and so forth. Because between all of those, what you realize is that everybody's coming at from a particular angle. And it's only by listening to all those sources that you start to get a better idea of the truth.
Yeah, it is difficult. I looked at in a shop the other day at all the newspaper headlines, and they varied so much. You know, the right-wing press said one thing, the left-wing press said another thing. You know, the others just came out with idiotic garbage. So yeah, it's very, very difficult to know. And now a lot of people suddenly have this great thing of like defund the BBC. We don't trust the BBC, and they're biased. You know, everybody thinks everybody's biased, probably in both different directions. So it is difficult to know where to get your news from. I think, you know, if I were to be a politician, I think the easiest thing is to constantly tell the truth, because that way there's no comeuppance. Nobody can get back at you and say, oh, you said this, then you said that. Just completely tell the truth. And it would be much easier if the media did that, but they're always looking for a spin, aren't they? I mean, if you're a politician, and we know certain breakfast shows, the politicians will not touch or go on, and when they do, they're decimated, and then they're sort of chastised and castigated for not going on. So I think that's really a problem. I think if you tell the truth and you are just honest down the line, it's a much easier way of dealing with it. And the press, I think well, certainly the interviewers on TV, I see they've got an agenda. You can tell. You know, if I'm the interviewer and you're the interviewee and you're a politician, I've got that glint in my eye because I've got one or two bombshells I'm going to try and throw at you to unseat you. And you probably know that I'm going to do that. So it's not a genuine interview. It's an interview where I'm going to try and make you feel uncomfortable. I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to try and trip you up to make myself look like a better journalist.
Yeah. And you're right. It's approaching it from that angle rather than the search for the truth. It's the hunt to be first, and that's the other thing that people say is that. And you should. I think it's much better if people really want to get the truth. You can do it in a respectful way. It doesn't always have to be confrontational.
No, it doesn't. But that's what they are a lot of the time, instantly confrontational, trying to stir it up, trying to get, you know, more followers on Twitter, whatever it is. I mean, it's a game, and I don't think the public should be subjected to that. They should, you know, they should be able to read the actual truth, because at the moment we know there are vast swathes of people are saying, I'm not sure about this lockdown. You know, what's it? And people, one scientist saying one thing and one saying another one, and one doctor saying one thing and one saying something else. It's mightily confusing for the populace. You're not quite sure where they are. A lot of people saying, oh my goodness, we better lock down and stay safe. And others saying, well, actually, have you looked at the stats? They're nowhere near as bad as they say they are. Oh, yes, they are. But have you looked at these stats over here? I mean, and the other day when you're watching TV, the next slide, please, next slide, you're seeing all these graphs and these models, and you think, well, hang on, who's coming up with these graphs and models? And also, as we know, the craziest one of all, the projections.
Right.
You know, they spent this year doing projections, and one could equate that, as you know, with business. And so how's your business going, Andrew? Well, we made £5 this year, but our projection is going to make 5 million next year and 50 million the year after. Oh, that's very interesting. Projections, schmections, what do they say down in Soho? Schmections. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy because you can say anything. Projections, well, that's just a model, isn't it, really? It's just somebody's made it up.
No, and you're quite right. I thought those graphs were awful when they were talking about it. Is people in politics need to be able to communicate. And I know you've dabbled with politics, and several people have suggested that you yourself should have maybe been mayor, because you'd be one of the most intelligent people in the cabinet, all those sort of things, and all that sort of suggestion. Were you ever tempted in real terms?
Well, I was asked twice, yeah, by the Conservatives initially, and then by UKIP. So yeah, I mean, I've got up to it. The good thing about being mayor is it's a non-political post, allegedly. Well, it's meant to be a non-political.
I say that to the current mayor, absolutely. And the one before.
Yeah, quite. But yeah, I mean, and as mayor, you should even be holding your own leader to question. And I did say that on both occasions. I said, if I felt the good of London depended on something, and the shadow cabinet or the government were against it, I would defend the Londoners in London against a national thing. Or you would say to the Prime Minister, no, I'm sorry, I know I'm your friend, I know we're on the same political party, but I'm in this instance not being political, I'm non-political, I'm representing London, and this is what I think. And I think that should be the case. And I would like a mayor that was fairer, there was more spread. I mean, I think Khan is a bit of a soundbite there. He comes up with these sound bites, and then I think, does he read the 1,000 comments underneath afterwards? And recently, I mean, just when everybody needs help in this situation, you need help. I thought, well, let's hope that he takes away the congestion charge for this period and removes the congestion charge to help people going to work, to help nurses going to hospital, to help the doctors, help the theatres, the churches. But no, he puts it on at weekends as well. So Saturday and Sunday. And it's not about congestion. It's not about for the good of the country. It's not. There is no green fund that this is going into. There's no ecological fund. And you go, oh, that's built up now. Where does it go? It goes, who knows where it goes? Yeah. Who knows?
And it is difficult. I mean, you talk about sound bites. I mean, one of the key elements of being a politician, apart from having policies and evidence-based journalism, it's very important to get the experts out there, is that ability to communicate. But I think the public have gone the other way now, haven't they? Because they recognize if something's just a pithy sound bite, as opposed to having any substance, they'll dismiss it, won't they?
Absolutely, yeah. They dismiss it in their swathes as well. That said, I don't see. I mean, Sadiq Khan's had a free ride this year because the elections were meant to be last May and they couldn't be. They're meant to be this coming May. Who knows whether they can be or not? So he may get yet another free year. It's extraordinary, but I still see him getting in. It's like the American election. Whether you like Trump or whether you didn't like him, there was still the possibility, still is, that he could get back in. So yeah, the same with Khan. He could get back in. I don't know who's going to touch him. Who's going to get anywhere near him? I really no idea.
Yeah, and people always dismiss Trump, and I think they're wrong to do that, because just as I predicted last time, is that there is a huge amount of support. He is whatever your policies are, he is a great presenter. He can communicate in a way that appeals to the mindset of certain people. And it's the same with UKIP. I mean, it was a compelling message for a lot of the people. What was your attraction when you first got involved with UKIP?
I think I was disillusioned with the two main parties. That was the real reason. I didn't think they were doing anything. I thought it was kind of vacuous as well at the time. And you need leaders, you need strong leaders. And sometimes that can go against, the public. Whoa, hang on. People don't like strong leaders, they're frightened of them. But you need that to make it work. And you need to be, what I'm saying about strong leaders, being honest, just being straight with people and saying, look, this is what we need to do, this is what we have to do, not fudging it and getting around it and what have you. And I'm sure everyone's doing their best. Look, it's not an easy job. It's so easy to sit on the outside and criticize. And so he said, well, you do it, mate, then. If you've got a family to look after and you've got a country to look after, you've got everyone to answer to, you've got to deal with the rest of the world, you've got to deal with COVID-19. I mean, it's not an easy job. Like for Boris, you catch it yourself, you've got to deal with it. You've got, a new child, your girlfriend. I mean, golly, I mean, there's a lot. When the Blairs, when the Camerons were there, it's like, you're dealing with world affairs. You're getting home when your kids say, Dad, we got prep. Can you help? As any dad's got to. Yes, of course. You can't say, I'm the Prime Minister, do it yourself. I'm busy. You give time for your kids. And then you get into bed absolutely knackered at 2 o'clock and your wife nudges you and you go, oh, no. I've got to be up at 5 in the morning. So, let's not pretend it's easy. It's easy to bash, anybody in leadership, whether it's military, whether it's in science, whether it's in sport. It's easy to knock the leaders and the big boys. But it's such a difficult job. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't want it. I mean, would you want to be Prime Minister? It's prestigious, yeah. And a lot of people go, oh, my goodness me, what a prestigious job. I'm the Prime Minister. Yeah, but now you've got to roll your sleeves up and get on with it. I mean, it does age you. It does tire you. You've got to have, vast quantities of energy and resources to make it work.
Yeah, I know you're right. And you do see the pictures, the before and after shot. That was then, this is now, another plug. But you look at the people before they go into the position of whether being a world. Yeah. They all come out with white hair, don't they?
I know, yeah. I mean, it is a knackering job. There's no doubt about that. And in some ways, a bit of a poison chalice. You have to be a certain type of person to want it. I mean, they always bang on about. A lot of people bang about, oh, old Etonians. But in some ways, there is a sort of sort of, and they always bang on about arrogance, but it's a leadership quality there, an assumption of leadership. And that's part of the game, I think. You know, you can be a man of the people, but I think you have to be able to assume leadership when the time comes. And in that confidence, people can often misconstrue absolute confidence as arrogance.
Yeah, I'm talking about a man of the people. One of the most popular people at the time, and it's driving forward now, was obviously Nigel Farage. I mean, he helped drive all sorts of things. Talk to me about your relationship with him.
Yeah, well, Nigel's he was a powerful guy, and he's a good orator. And again, it's irrelevant whether you like him or whether you don't like him. I mean, people often say, "Oh, Nigel's a racist," or he's this, that, yeah. Well, he's not. He had a lot of views about what he thought would be good for the country. And again, people are quite at liberty to disagree with him, and say this, that, and the other about him, as they do about any politician. I think the more you are, the more you pop up all the time, then the more people go, "Oh no, not him again, banging on again." But he did it out of honesty and of what he thought was right. Again, I'm not sure whether you agree with him or disagree with him. It's irrelevant. I mean, he did what he thought was the right thing at the right time, and he's doing it from the outside, which is trickier. You know, when you're trying to storm the castle gates because you believe this is the right thing to do, the people inside the castle gates say, "Oh, that's right. We've already built the castle now. You know, with no first past the post for us, mate. We're all safe here. We don't want to change anything, thank you." So, you know, they don't let the drawbridge down, and they're frustrated yet again. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people will say that Nigel changed the face of politics through getting Brexit done, but then Remainers will say, "Well, we hate him because we wanted to stay in Europe." And then people will say, "Well, you are in Europe. You are still in Europe. It's only the EU bloc you're leaving." And again, the thing in the States with Trump and Biden, and we still don't know what's going to happen. Maybe by the time this goes out, we will. But I mean, the people knocking Trump forget that he's very, very, very pro-Britain. And in terms of a trade deal, we will be at the front of the queue, which is what we need. Biden is very pro-EU. So we don't know, we may be nearer the back of the queue with Biden because he's pro-EU, therefore would probably be against Brexit, and he may even try to get involved and thwart the final workings where we're coming out of Brexit. Who knows if he becomes president? That's why it's the last roll of the dice, really. So, yeah, we've got one potential president who's pro-Britain and everyone wants to get out, and one that everyone seems to want to get in who's pro-EU. But that will suit some people, but not others.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You say people don't know. I do know, and I've predicted, and it's all happened, the twists and turns. It's all in my book about what's going to happen, about the policies and things like that. Because people underestimated Trump. They underestimated him the first time. They underestimated him this time. The reason it's neck and neck is pollsters just dismiss him, and they shouldn't dismiss him. I also predicted that obviously he's going to declare victory early, because that's what you do as a winner. He likes to be a winner. And he will say that he will challenge it. However, I have got my money. I will reveal that a little bit later, because I don't want to interrupt anything, because it will go out and everything will be revealed. But Nigel, he did change a generation. It was a vote. Both sides, and I spoke to both sides during that debate, and neither side was happy with the status quo. And the question was, you either negotiate from the inside to try and change it, or from the outside. We then had a democratic vote, biggest referendum lifetime, and a decision was made. It was that simple. We're about to go into the cusp of that sort of side. And I think whatever people say, now's the time to try and negotiate the best deal. And you're right, a deal with Trump would be a lot easier than a deal with Biden.
Yeah, a deal with Trump, he's pro-UK, Biden's pro-EU. So yes, of course. But yeah, I mean, Nigel, don't forget, I mean, the UKIP have been bounding along for a while in the 90s with Robert Kilroy-Silk, and not much happening. And Nigel took it to be the biggest new party since the Liberals. Yeah. Really, you were going back to the days of Asquith. The biggest new party since then for 100 years. And don't forget, at that time, and just before then, MPs weren't being paid. They did it because they wanted to do the job, or they were landowners or whatever. So Nigel's brought this party in, and then was hoping in the European elections to at least come third, a good third. But actually, that came first, and UKIP got more people into the European Parliament than any other party, which was extraordinary. I think, shocked the other parties enormously. So yeah, it is a problem. I mean, when somebody comes in and they make a bold or a rash decision, going back to American presidents. I mean, when Thomas Jefferson came in, he was the third president after Washington and Adams. And when he came in, and they said, Mr. Jefferson, the country is in a poor state. We need to raise the taxes to, screw the people to get more money. And he said, no. He said, that's not what we do. He said, we lower the taxes to actually inspire people to actually go out and work more. We encourage them. And within 2 or 3 years, the coffers are full. So you don't just have to take, what everyone around you says as gospel. That's why I think now, still now, people question things. Is this true or is this not true? Do we need to keep raising taxes, or would it be better to lower them? And then, I know people, as you do, with businesses, and they can say, oh yeah, we turn over, £800,000 a year, £1 million a year. That sounds good. Yeah, but there's 750 going out. Oh, that doesn't sound so good now. So that's one of the problems. I think that people find it more difficult to hang on to money now. If you go back 1800s, a lot of the moneyed families, the tax was something like 5%. I think it was something like 5%. So of course, people could hang on to money. 5% is okay. A tithe, if we're going biblical, is acceptable. Even 20 pence in the pound, like they do in the Channel Islands, acceptable. But when you go back to the 70s and they start charging, some people, we're talking another program about Robin Gibb and the Bee Gees, they're paying 110% tax. You think, this is idiotic. 110%. No wonder they're all fleeing the country. Do you not see that is not a good thing to do? But clearly they don't. They just have no common sense sometimes. And with some politicians, I mean, I stood on the stages, with a lot of politicians, and most I would happily stand on a stage with and engage with. There are some that are very, very good that I wouldn't, because they are brilliant. Bill Cash is fantastic. Nigel Farage is fantastic. What's his name? Hannon, he's fantastic as well. So yeah, they're really strong people that can go on stage, and they've got everything at their command, and they're very good and they're very fighting war. They're difficult people to take on, but a lot of them, they're a bit washy, and as I said before, I mean, they're sort of biding their time between university and number 10. Some of them, just treading water.
And you're right. And in politics, you had to have a very thick skin as well, because the press, and we always talk about on this show about the press and how they misrepresent things. I mean, I felt particularly sorry for you during this whole UKIP Calypso thing. Let's put that into perspective. What actually happened?
Well, I did a parody on TV. Lance Percival used to do those the parodies on TV where you pick up a guitar and sing a calypso. And everyone sang a calypso in that, Jamaican accent. Of course it did. That's what you did. And I wrote it. I just come back from Jamaica. I've been playing with the Jolly Boys out there, and they said, "Oh man, you're the only white Jolly Boy we've had," and they'd always get me to do the Jamaican accent. I said, "Oh, if you do that back in the UK, they think it's racist." I said, "You do a Scots accent, or an Australian accent, or a French accent, or a German accent, but if you do, a Jamaican or a Caribbean accent, then they say it's for some reason. Why would they do that?" I spend a lot of time out there, got a lot of friends out there, and they're great. They say, come on, do the accent, man, come on. And they love it. And the Jolly Boy said to me, he said, "You can't join us on stage and sing in a Surrey accent. I'm sorry, Jamaica farewell. Oh, chaps, okay, there is boy child, jolly good. Yeah, it just doesn't work, So when I did that, I put a sort of that slight lilt to it, as Sting had done with the Police stuff, as 10cc did with Dreadlock Holiday, as UB40 did with their songs. So I put that lilt to it. And of course, the left turned out in force to misrepresent it. I mean, what it was a parody, really. It was a parody of, it was a tongue-in-cheek poke and a bit of a laugh at Nigel. Now I like Nigel, he's a friend of mine, but he appears more than Dimbleby on Question Time, and about Nigel liking his fags and beer. So it was a bit of a joke, really. He was taking the manifesto and having a bit of a laugh, and they not only pick up on the hint of the accent, which so many artists had done before, but they also then had to go about illegal immigrants, that was racist. And I said, now, hang on, it's not. Illegal immigrants can come from anywhere. And we're talking about illegal. We're not talking about illegal immigrants. We're talking about illegal immigrants, but of course, your reasoning holds no water. Once people have pointed the finger, and we think we had 38 newspapers the first week, 38 newspapers the second week. The Telegraph printed all the lyrics on page 3, and the BBC, who I was with at the time, forced me to apologise. I said, "What was I to apologise for?" I said, I spend a lot of time in the Caribbean. I film out there. I do radio out there. I play with the bands out there. I work with the artists. I said, well, they love it. What am I apologising for? A lot of them are my mates. So, oh, no, you've got to apologise. But see, if I apologise, it looks as though I've done something wrong, which I haven't. I said, and it was a fun, and they picked up that one. All the rest of it was a parody and a laugh, They picked up on that illegal immigrants. No, illegal immigrants. They can come from anywhere. Illegal immigrants. So, and then it was released, and it came out on the Monday, and I think it got to by lunchtime. It was just outside the top 40 by lunchtime, and the record company phoned. They said it's going to be #1 by tonight. It's going to be #1. I said, oh, okay. And then all hell let loose from the left. I had people from the Labour Party actually phoning me and telling me that they said, oh, we're going for you. Oh, fine, okay. So they did. They actually went for me, and but that was basically it. I mean, I got stuffed by the press and what have you, and again, a lot of people said, actually, we thought it was a very clever song. People who had to be openly critical round the back door said, actually, we thought it was very funny. It was very clever. But all it was just a parody that people have done in the past, a parody calypso. That's all. There was no bad intentions in it whatsoever. It's just a bit of a laugh. So the record company pulled it on the Tuesday, and we'd have had a #1.
Do you regret it?
Well, I didn't do it in any way to regret it. I just did it for fun. You regret it. If you knew how people are going to respond to it, then yeah, maybe you think, oh, you know what, I can't be bothered. If people are going to be like that, then yeah, I might not have done it if I could have seen the response. But I did it because it was a piece of parody writing, as you do. We all write songs, but it was just instead of a normal song, it was a parody song. And taking the mickey, and a lot of people went, it was actually a really clever song. And I think Winston McKenzie went on TV and defended it, and they said, well, you're a black politician, Winston. He said, I thought it was brilliant. He said, I thought it was great. So no, I don't regret doing it. I regret the fact that people took it in completely the wrong way in order to gain political traction.
Yeah, and people are so quick these days to take offence, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fence, door, guttering, let's take anything these days. No, they are. Yeah, people will be offended at anything. As you see every day, you look at it, outrage, offended, shocking, stunned by so-and-so, so-and-so. They can't think of any more adjectives. They've run out of adjectives now. Now when I see that, I don't even look anymore. So-and-so stunned, so-and-so. Outrage is another one. As soon as I see the word outrage, I've gone, because I know it's just somebody using it.
But that's what newspapers want. It's P.T. Barnum who said that if you want to draw a crowd, start a fight. And the media are very good at starting fights, aren't they?
Oh yeah, of course you can. Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. You can drop a bomb in the middle of something and say, let's. We all can these days with social media. You or I could put something that people consider offensive up in the next 10 minutes. And your name could be mugged by the end of the afternoon, or you could be a hero to some people and hated by others. You could put up something totally outlandish if you were that way inclined. If you were, let's say you were a sociopath and you didn't care, you just put something up on there and you were hard-nosed and hard-skinned. By the end of the day, your name, you could be trending on Twitter if you said something seriously outlandish. That's the power these days that people have. You know, you think, well, why are they trending? You know, I look today. I mean, we're a strange nation because we have on the one side, I was saying on the radio this morning, people like Hilaire Belloc, serious writer, but wrote children's rhymes as well. Purcell wrote serious music, but wrote bawdy ballads. And when I looked on Twitter this morning, I was reminded of that because the two leading things trending were, was it Kevin is Kevin the Carrot going to get home for Christmas? You know, and President of the United States. And I thought, oh, Kevin the Carrot is trending higher than President of the United States. That's typical. That's typical of us humans. It's wonderful. I love it. And we're very good at, as you know, at humor. When anything comes up, our humor is brilliant. And we're very, very quick, like football chants on the terraces. We are very, very quick. With things like that.
Absolutely love it. When you give it things to the great British public or the public anywhere, and they come up with some glorious moments like name a vessel, and they'll come up with Boaty Muck Boatface, you know? I mean,
yeah.
The glorious sort of stuff. But it is where people are taking offense, and this is what I object to, where offense should rightly be taken, and where there is genuine prejudice, absolutely call that out. But when there isn't prejudice, and you don't have a prejudicial bone in your body, I know you well enough, it's all humour, you imitate everybody, you're a perfect impressionist in that sort of way. Where there's no offence should be taken, it's wrong to call it out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but you know, people are people, they can do it. It's easier if you're totally unknown. Because you can say whatever you like, do whatever you like. There's no comeuppance. No one's going to come around knocking on your door. And if people are nasty to you, they're never going to know who you are. They're never going to meet you. But if you're in the public eye and you do something or say something or people call you out, then it can affect your career. I mean, recently, you know, Lawrence Fox is always trending on Twitter for his opinions and what he thinks. Now, whether he's right, whether he's wrong, whether you agree with him, whether you don't, it's irrelevant. He's entitled to his opinions. But now people say, oh, his career as an actor is over. You know, but he's made a very bold step in forming a party which may not go anywhere. It's very tricky, as we know. I mean, Nigel almost got his party away, but didn't. And Nigel's quite a powerful politician. So somebody with a voice and an opinion, an intelligent bloke, Lawrence Fox. But is he going to get his party into a serious position and backed to make any difference? I don't know. But on the other hand, he's put himself in a position where people are having a pop at him every day. Now, either he's used to that and thinks, well, will this affect my career or won't it? I don't know. Some people won't put their head above the parapet for that reason, because they don't want their career to be affected.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, I've seen him on a number of programs. He always objects to being labelled as a racist.
Well, these things are easy to toss around now anyway, aren't they? Sexist, racist, whatever it is. You know, people just chuck them around now willy-nilly, like outrage. You know, I remember seeing outrage on the front of a paper, and I thought, oh, and I peeled the other one back to see what it was. And it was outrage there was no finger of fudge in the Cadbury's Christmas selection this year. And you think, that just about sums up outrage, doesn't it, really? Who is outraged? I mean, I might read things I don't like. If everyone puts it into their own context, you know, if I read something that I don't like, am I outraged? No. What am I outraged about? I might not like something, or be angry about something. When am I outraged? You know, I don't know. I don't know what outrages me. If somebody's done something wrong, they're bad, and you have to get punished for it. But when are you outraged? You know, when were you last outraged, Andrew?
Well, I'm permanently outraged. I'm outraged when people get wrongly labelled. I hate labels, and a lot of people, and you know, lots of people in the media who wrongly get accused of things and labels slapped on them, and the press likes to build people up and they like to knock them down. So I think if there's an extreme of emotion, I don't like injustice. I don't like people deliberately going out misquoting people or misrepresenting. If there's any sort of outrage, I think that's what I would call out. That's why I always encourage people to question everything. And rather than just turn around and swallow wholesale what people are telling you, I do get outraged about that. I get outraged about injustice.
Yeah, and I agree with you totally about injustice. I always have all my life. You know, that's, you know, you think, no, it's so unfair. It's almost like watching a Whitehall farce, and you go, no, don't look behind the Asford Estuary standing there with no trousers on. Don't do it. And you know what's coming, and you squirm, and you go, oh no.
It's right, and the media follow that pattern. And I think the more we can get to a stage where it's more jaw, not and less war, the better, because we are living in divisive times. We need to get a period where we heal, if you like. And I think the more we can do that and try to understand the other person's perspective and do question everything, because everybody has their own prejudices. Everybody reads news from a certain story, a certain side. You always read the same newspapers, watch the same channels, talk to the same group of friends. All they're doing is confirming your own prejudices. And I think the way that you heal wounds is by listening to the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and any perceived problems with people or what have you, the more it's discussed in public, then the more divided it becomes, you know, whatever it is, you know, you talk about this, you talk about that, and you go, hang on, the more you talk about it, the more you're dividing people. If you just don't talk about it, or you can take the mickey out of each other or whatever, that's when you get real equality, when you can all sit around the same table and nobody mentions, you know, I'm black, I'm white, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm this, I'm educated, I'm not educated. You can actually just, if nobody mentions it, then it's fine. The more you talk about it, the more divisive and divided it gets in a way.
Yeah, and that is the real shame. And there have been lots of victims, a lot of casualties on the way, which I think is, and the biggest casualty in war is always the truth.
Yeah, no, so that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, and you know, most wars have been fought over religion anyway, and that is a personal thing. You're never going to change anybody's minds by having a war with them. You might not like their religion, you might disagree with their religion, but unless you kill them all, they get that religion is going to continue. You're not going to. You might kill people, but you're not going to kill the belief inherent in that, you know, party or that tribe of people ever. So why bother? Again, it's like going back trying to persuade someone to change allegiance from Manchester City to Manchester United. You're not going to do it. So, you know, you might have a difference of opinion politically or religiously, but actually slaughtering thousands of people is not going to change everything. And then, of course, you know, on the other side, well, it's not always political. It can be greed. It can be, you know, avaricious intent to take over continents, or, you know, something that's not yours. But yeah, and often it's, as we know, it emanates from one person, you know, and that's the weird thing. It can, all these things often emanate from, whether it's a Hitler or Napoleon or something. All this has spread from one person. How can that one person make it spread and have so many deaths on their hands? There's so many, what is it that drives that person to whatever it is? And it's difficult to understand, really, I guess, you know. But someone that's sat down and drank with Napoleon probably said, hey, he's a lovely bloke, you had a great night with him, you know.
A good bit of brandy with him. It's got to be.
Yeah.
What sort of brandy he would drink? No, always. Are you still in touch with Nigel?
Occasionally, yeah. I keep tabs on what he's doing. I never really got involved in politics per se. Only what I thought was right. And again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, whatever they think, whether they're Remain or whether they're Brexit, or whether they feel the right party's in or the wrong party's in, or neither party should be in. That's what I think makes it healthy. And I think, you know, it becomes unhealthy if people start slagging everyone off for having an opinion, unless the opinion is murderous or treasonable or something. That's a different thing. But if it's just an opinion on how the country should be run, how the education system should go, whether they sell off school fields for money, you know, all those things are things that people have an opinion on. You know, should the schools and unis be back now, or should they be locked down now? You know, should the fences go up around Manchester University and the army going into Pontins in Liverpool? And people will have their opinion whether they feel yes or no, but they're all entitled to their opinion.
Well, absolutely. And I think what's really helpful, and this is why we search for the truth, is to make sure that any opinion is evidence-based, because so often people just have an opinion and they don't have evidence to support that opinion.
No, they don't. And social media is like that. It's much the same as 6 people are going to the castle on the hill with flaming torches, and people start joining. Where are you going? Well, they say there's a monster. Do they? Whoa. And before you know, you've gone half a mile, you've got 500 people with flaming torches going to kill the monster in the castle, and there is no monster in the castle. And I think that it's an analogy that works really for social media, that it will spread. I saw an apology this morning from someone that said, oh, I'm totally sorry for what I did last week, and I didn't mean it. It's rare you see that on there. but it can be a forest fire. You know, somebody says something and somebody will pick it up and repeat it, and 2 other people, 100, 1,000, 10,000 other people repeat it. Then it starts trending and everyone starts believing in it. Then it becomes fake news. There's so much fake news now. What do you believe? You know, is it true? Is it not true? Did somebody say that? Did they not say it? We're living in very confusing times like that. And I think, you know, if you had a form of media, a newspaper and a TV channel that was just called The Truth, we just give you absolutely the facts. In some cases, we'll give you both sides. We won't give you one bit, we'll give you both sides of the news so you can decide. Well, this is what's out there. And I think there'd be a great case for that.
Well, no, absolutely. And that's what Jimmy Wales tried to do when he set up his site. He was just going to have evidence-based journalists who would turn around and say that any story you have to have, you cross-reference with the sources and so on and so forth, and then people can make informed decisions. Always interesting to catch up, Mike. Always a joy. We cover everything from Basil Brush. This was then to that was now to people's views on things. And absolutely, you and I are on the same page on that. Encourage people to have a view, encourage people to speak out, but encourage people to think on the other side as well. And don't just assume that what you read is correct. You do have to question everything.
Absolutely.
Mike Reed, always a pleasure. Take care.
Andrew, thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.